So this subject of personal development, welcome to welcome to the next, I don't know, 45 minutes, an hour, and we are going to be getting ourselves right into personal development. And for me, it's probably the most important subject I think that someone could get themselves immersed in. Now, as a dad of two kids, um, if I can get them into this, then I think I'll be doing them a really good favor for the long term. And so I don't know what your understanding is of these two words. You might be kind of highly engaged already in it, and this is maybe just going to be a nice little continuation of some of the things that you're already knowing and doing. But equally, it might not be something that you've ever really looked at. You don't even understand what personal development is, and so I guess my goal really for the next for our time together is really to give you my take on personal development and maybe give you some steps that you can take that after or even during this session, you can start to take your own notes and maybe your own actions. But I think action is the bit that I would suggest is look, if it's something that you feel is for you, and my hope would be, well, why wouldn't it be for you? But that's just my angle on things. Is okay, what actions are you going to take off the back of this to really start to see the kind of person and life that you can become and have? So there we go. Let's get ourselves into it because I think I've teed things up to say, like, I don't know where you're at, but at the end of the day, one of the things that I know to be true is that everything does start with a thought. So the sayings are, thoughts become things. You become what you think about. If you think you can or think you can't, you're right. So everything starts with a thought. And of course that then triggers how we then feel to a situation or a thing. So again, my interest is, how are you thinking in terms of the subject of personal development? Either you can be saying, I love it and I'm already into it, I'm really curious to learn more, or it's a pile of happy clappy kind of self-help rubbish. All right. So I don't know where your thoughts are right now, but what I do know is then that will lead to a set of feelings and emotions towards the subject. And depending upon how you feel towards it, it will determine what actions you then take or don't take, and then it'll lead to an outcome. So the best way that I can maybe explain this sequence is really thinking about it from, again, the kids' point of view. So the kids at school these days, they are certainly learning about a thing called growth mindset. Again, you might have heard of that before. Growth mindset, and of course, the opposite of that is fixed mindset. So if I explain the negative to you just now and just say, okay, look, if from a fixed mindset point of view, all right, where and this might be where little kid uh, looks at maths and says the words, I'm not good at maths. Well, if that's what he or she's saying to themselves, that's their thought process, I'm not good at maths. Now, what tends to happen then is, okay, how do I feel towards the maths class? Well, actually, I feel a little bit nervous. I feel a little bit, I can't be bothered. There's not good feelings towards the kind of the 45 minutes I'm going to spend in maths. And the consequence of that then is I either just do enough or maybe my action is that I dog the class. I don't even go. But the point being is that maybe I just don't listen to what the teacher's then saying. And then when it comes to doing the homework or the test, guess what? I don't get a good result. Um, and that just reinforces my belief that I'm not good at maths. Now, that would be an example of a fixed mindset. Now, if you think about it, it's called fixed mindset because it starts with how we think. So again, I don't know how you're thinking about personal development, but again, if you think it's pile of crap, then again, the likelihood is if you go through the sequence, you're just going to reinforce your own belief and shy away from it. But if I were to give you the opposite to this, if it's true to the negative, it has to be true to the positive as well. And this is where growth mindset comes in for the kids. And really, for me, the best way of describing what growth mindset is, it's the same sentence, I'm not good at maths, ... yet. Right? Now, those three dots in the word yet changes everything because what it does is it opens up the mind to saying, well, what's possible? How could I? And so therefore, it's a far more empowering way to think. And what, of course, that does is it makes me think, well, I'll learn. So I'll feel as if I can give something a go. And when I feel as if I give something a go, I tend to give it a go. And when I give something a go, one of two things tends to happen. Like, if I've never done something, I give it a go. One of two things happens. One is I'll surprise myself and I'll succeed, or it won't work. And in inverted commas, I've failed. But of course, the acronym of fail is first attempt in learning. So I've learned something. Again, I don't want you to look at that as being cheesy, but if you listen to any of the people, the athletes, the people in business, the people who seem to have been making big progress in life, that's their attitude, which is you need to fail in order to succeed. So I would say that I'd be in the majority of successful people who think in that kind of way. And of course, what happens then is I've got an outcome. I've either succeeded or I've learned something, which then reinforces that belief that says, actually, I'm not good at maths yet, but I'm getting better. And so the sequence goes. So that's kind of the important, so again, maybe as an action point for now is to say, look, what are some of the thoughts that you've got? What are some of the empowering beliefs that you have? What are some of the disempowering thoughts that you have in your head that might actually be setting off a sequence for you that's leading to an outcome that you don't want? So again, half of the battle, in fact, I've got it up here, I don't know if you can see this, but awareness is, be aware of kind of how you're thinking. But what is personal development then? So a quick search on Wikipedia gives us this definition, which I just typed it in and said, okay, if someone's never engaged in this, then where would I go? I'd go onto Google probably and just have a quick look. Well, this is the definition. Personal development consists of activities that develop a person's capabilities and potential. So think about that. It's like, okay, so what are some of the things that I could develop and get better at? And as my performance grows or my ability to better handle a situation, I tap into more of my potential. And one of the things that we all hopefully realize is that, we've probably got loads more in us than we are currently using. So again, why wouldn't we tap into some of that potential? How do we build our human capital, our value, facilitate employability? So again, how do we? What's the phrase? If you want more value, so if you want a pay rise, if you want to earn more, if you want more value, be more valuable to the marketplace, whether that be your current employer, future employer. So again, the more you grow, the more that you will become attractive to others. And again, enhance the quality of your life. Those people who actually are taking control of things and actually moving themselves forward tend to have a better life of less complaints and more about aspirations, which is exactly what this then helps us to do. It says, okay, let's set some goals, let's have some dreams, and let's go out and see how far we can push things to actually really live the kind of life that we're looking for. So for me, personal development is absolutely at the heart. It's the foundation of kind of life success. And I hope that doesn't sound overly grand, but I genuinely believe that's where it all starts. We shouldn't expect things to happen to us. We have to make those things happen. And the only way to do that is by maybe challenging ourselves and maybe growing from where we're at right now. So that's the definition. Let's have a little think of a thing called inversion thinking. So I'm a big student of Warren Buffett, one of the world's richest people, certainly the world's greatest investor. Such a humble man, so wise, well worth again. Just put him in your ears, go to YouTube or listen to anything that he's got to say, and phenomenal. You'll learn stuff that'll change the way you think. But his kind of right-hand man was a chap called Charlie Munger, who only just died in December last year, 1 month shy of his 100th birthday. And one of the things that he puts down to his success was a thing called inversion thinking, or invert the thinking. So kind of the funny quote that he gives is this idea of, he says, all I want to know is where I'm going to die so that I'll never go there. And what he's really saying is, it's quite hard to actually figure out the answer to things kind of looking forward, but actually maybe looking back or looking at the negative is a good way to then help you understand what the real answer should be. So I kind of use this quite a lot. In terms of working with some other clients around, okay, look, if the thing I say is, look, if we were to really knacker this business, like literally overnight, if we were to knacker this business, then what are some of the things that we would be doing behaviorally that would kind of put this business out of business in 24 hours? And you get silly things like, oh, we'd be telling customers to F off, and you'd be kind of stabbing your colleagues in the back. You would be returning phone calls late or never. Again, you get the gist. It's actually quite easy to say what you don't want, and you have a bit of fun with that. But of course, what we're really trying to get to is to say, well, look, what if we were to get it right then? What if all of a sudden now we were to become the best in our industry at the thing that we're doing? What would we see then? And of course, it's a lot easier to flip it to say, okay, if I know what would make it wrong, I also know what would make it right. And again, there's the red arrows as well. I mean, flipping heck, they just get everything right, don't they? There's no room for error there. So I guess, inversion thinking is quite a nice technique. And again, I've often asked people and said, look, what are your goals? And so I don't know. But I can tell you what I don't want. Fine. Well, that's a great place to start. Tell me what you don't want. And then that starts to open up the idea to then say, well, if you were to flip that, what are you really saying then that you do want? And it becomes easier that way. So again, I thought I would maybe apply a little bit of inverted thinking into the subject of personal development. So here we go. Excuse me. So what about no personal development? So if you were to kind of shun this and say, look, it's not for me, I'm not going to engage, then arguably you could make the choice to meander through life, which is just take life as it comes, and accept whatever your situation. Look, that's just my fate. There might be a view that says, look, I'll just make do with the talents that I've got. And again, that idea of, look, I'm just not good at certain things, and that's just the way it's going to have to be. And have a belief that says, like, I'm just not that type of person that could do this or that. I'm fine. I'm happy with my lot. Listen, there's nothing wrong with being contented, by the way, but actually people who say I'm fine, I'm happy with my lot, great. But actually my kind of fairly kind of tough response to that would be, great, well, never complain then. We might have the view that just says, look, the reasons for me being where I am is down to external factors. It's the government, it's COVID, it's kind of education, it's kind of opportunity. It might be that potentially is a way of thinking. Or this idea of, look, I can't afford something because I'm not paid enough. Like, I'd love to, but I just don't get paid that much. All right. So there's, again, you'll notice there's a flip coming to all of these things. Look, I don't have time to exercise because I work so hard. Well done for working hard, but actually at the expense of your health. Is that really? Again, it's easy to fall into excusitis, isn't it? But that's not. We know that that's not kind of right in the long term. Look, I was never good at managing money because I was never taught. All right. Well, that could be a view. And I worry really what people think of me. Now, again, that for me would be an example of more of a fixed mindset, or maybe kind of no personal development. But if we were to flip some of this over to embrace personal development, well, rather than meandering, how about saying, okay, look, I've really thought this through, and I've got a focus, I've got a direction for my life. I kind of know the broad direction that I'm kind of looking to move in. And I think I've got a choice to choose whatever situation that I find myself in. So I might be in a situation that's not great, but actually, rather than just say I'll have to live with it, then what do I choose to do about it? And again, I can always learn new skills and gain new knowledge that will maybe propel me forward and upward. I do believe that I can change. So yes, I was born, but actually I wasn't just born this way forever. I can change. And I feel that I am happy, and I feel that I could also offer a lot more. Again, this idea of, there's lots more potential that I've got that is currently untapped. The situation is within my control. I choose my response to the events that happen. All right, an event happens. Okay, I've got a choice. What's my response going to be? I could either say, oh, bugger this, blame, excuses, denial, or say, okay, great, it's happened. How do I take responsibility? How do I hold myself to account? How do I wrap my arms around this and really own the situation? Again, this whole idea of reframing how you look at things or how you think about things. So how can I be more valuable? Rather than saying I can't afford it, how can I be more valuable such that I get paid more? Rather than kind of coming up with an excuse, how about you say, look, I've really thought about the things that are important, and I can allocate the time for the important stuff. Health clearly being the most important. And rather than saying, well, I didn't get taught things, go out in search of the information that's required. So the books, the kind of who you can speak to, what information ultimately will help you. And rather than worrying about what others think about you, how about this idea of becoming or having a need, a real burning desire to actually become the person that you want to be, not what other people want of you. So again, listen, I'm clearly going to be biased towards the subject of personal development. I said that right at the start. And, again, you've got a choice. I'm just saying that this is a choice that hopefully you might choose to really lean into. And the guy that really got me started on personal development was this chap here. He's long since passed now, but a chap called Jim Rohn. Again, if there's an action that I would suggest that you take right now is look him up on YouTube. There is a wealth of information from Jim Rohn, and he just talks a lot of sense and really, again, gets into your head, starts making you think about stuff. But two quotes that really stand out for me are, work harder on yourself than you do on your job. Now, I'm not saying for one second that you work hard. Of course, you want to work hard for whomever it is that is your employer, but don't let that happen at the expense of all of the things that you'd like to do, kind of building your health, your wealth, your mindset, your relationships. Okay, so again, work hard on yourself, and listen, don't wish life were easier, wish you were better. Life ain't going to get any easier. It probably, if I kind of in conversations with my mum and my gran before her, life seemed a little bit simpler back in the day, and kind of with all the pings and dings and distractions and various things going on, it feels like life's getting kind of more distracting, more kind of fast paced. So I don't think life's going to get any easier, but actually could we potentially kind of take a sort of step off the hamster wheel and maybe get a little bit better at the game of life? I think that's really what he's trying to say there, and I think that's what I would suggest. So let's kind of hear a little video from Jim just now. So let me just play this video.
The essence of life is growth. It is doing the best you possibly can. Here's what is interesting. Humans are the only life form that will do less than they possibly can. Humans are the only life form that will settle for less. All other life forms, except human beings, strive to their maximum capacity. How tall will a tree grow? As tall as it possibly can. You've never heard of a tree growing half as high as it could. No. Trees don't grow half. Trees send their roots down as deep as possible. They stretch their limbs up as high as possible and produce every leaf and every fruit possible. As a matter of fact, you've never heard of a human growing halfway physically. That is, we keep growing until we're done. It's genetically coded. That's a part of life that we can't control. It's the growing of our minds that we can control, but we tend to neglect this. It tends to get away from us. All life forms inherently strive toward their maximum potential, except human beings. Why wouldn't we strive to become all we can be, to fulfill our potentials? Because we have been given the dignity of choice. It makes us different than alligators and trees and birds. The dignity of choice makes us different than all other life forms. And here's the choice: to become part of what we could be, enough to get by or to become all that we can be. My best advice for you is to choose the all. Earn all you can. Make all the friends you can. Read as many books as you can. Develop as many skills as you can. See and do as much as possible. Make as much fortune as possible. Give as much of it away as possible. Strive for the maximum. There's no life like it. I'm telling you, since I've gotten on track. I've never looked back. Pick up the challenge. Go for it. When you're focusing on growth, it's easy to do all you can. It's easy to succeed. It's easy to have financial freedom. The more you do, the more you get. Here's what I think would be a pitiful scenario. If your income grew and you didn't grow. When your income takes some jumps, it's vital that you quickly grow up to where your income is. Why? Because otherwise, your income will soon come back to where you are. Somebody once said, if someone hands you $1 million, it's best you become a millionaire, so you get to keep the money. I'm telling you, success doesn't want to hang around an incompetent person. The problem with winning the lottery is the lack of self-development the person has gone through to be able to master and keep the money. The fortune is bigger than the person, rather than the person being bigger than the fortune. If you're a parent, use the challenge of parenting to personally grow. See what you can become. If you want to reach your children, you can't lack stories and illustrations. You can't lack wisdom and power. And the only way you can become the best kind of parent is by personal development, becoming better than you are, stronger than you are, wiser than you are. You are growing so that your investment grows. As your children grow, you grow. Your power grows. Your influence grows. Your wisdom grows. Your command of the language grows. You see, that's what is challenging. To be involved in a situation that makes you grow. If that situation is success, keep growing to be bigger than your fortune. If that situation is failure, keep growing until you're bigger than the problem. Keep growing, keep becoming.
Okay, so there's Jim Rohn again. This is part of personal development, by the way. You know, literally getting into YouTube and just exposing yourself to things like this will really help you. I particularly like Jim Rohn. I like the way he talks in a way that I can picture what he's saying. You know, he's got colourful language. It really, you know, I see him as humble. I like that trait. You know, I think he's there quietly, kind of nurturing and kind of encouraging me forward. That's how I kind of hear him. Now, that might not be you, but actually, my question to you would be, who is your guru, or who are the people that you could say, do you know what, I like the way they talk. They are kind of helping me kind of lift myself kind of up and forwards. I think that's the thing. Up and forwards is really important. So anyway, there's Jim Rohn.
The essence of life.
Oops. So look, we've all got choices. I quite like the way he says that. You know, how tall will a tree grow? Well, as tall as it possibly can. It doesn't only grow half as much as it can. A human clearly has that choice. So for me, if we look at it, we do have a choice. And you know, again, this isn't me being overly pious or kind of judgy. I'm just trying to lay something out for you. And you know, and as I speak to you, I speak to myself as well, which is, look, it's really easy to do this kind of stuff here, which is kind of just, again, metaphorically speaking, playing on the video games, kind of slobbing out in front of the TV, and then kind of going on a spending spree. All that kind of stuff's quite easy, but ultimately over time, life is going to be hard. Whereas, you know, what's the opposite of these things? Well, you know, rather than kind of playing on the video games, reading a book, actually going for a run instead of being on the sofa, or maybe actually saving instead of spending. Now, you know, that probably feels harder to do in the moment, but over time, life gets easier when we do those things. And again, I know we all know this, but the reality is, it's like, you know, it's not what you know, it's what you do. So really, it comes down to choice. And for those of you who have maybe seen before the philosophy or the way of thinking around above and below the line, you'll see that this kind of plays out quite nicely here, which says, look, the stuff below the line, the line of choice, is all about blame, excuses, and denial. It's kind of pointing the finger of blame when things go wrong or things haven't happened. But of course, and this is a bit cheesy, but when you point the finger of blame, of course, you always have three fingers pointing right back at you. Okay, no one's really interested in excuses. You don't get the athlete, for example, who's maybe training kind of for a big competition or the Olympics, waking up in the morning and looking out the window at 5 o'clock in the morning, seeing that the wind's howling and the rain's horizontal, and saying, "Oh, I'll just curl back in and I'll catch up tomorrow." They don't make excuses like that. Again, they hold themselves accountable. And the idea of denial, burying your head in the sand, and putting things off or ignoring things, or the stuff that that you probably need to attend to, but you don't. Well, the opposite clearly is the flip of that. Is the opposite of point the finger of blame is take responsibility for your actions. Don't make excuses. Hold yourself accountable. Again, the athlete just says, "Look, this is the training plan. The weather's the weather, but I need to kind of execute on the plan." So again, how do I hold myself accountable? And then, how do I wrap my arms around a situation and deal with stuff and actually own my situation? And anything below the line ultimately leads to a feeling of powerlessness. And the old victim mentality, which is always a bit backward looking. Whereas what we're trying to encourage is this idea of where we feel powerful, where we feel as if empowered. And that's the victor mentality, which is much more about, as I say, forwards and upwards. And that for me is a philosophy that we really, I've got it, not this picture here, but a nicely drawn picture in our downstairs toilet, which has been up there for many a year. And it's there just to kind of convey to the kids. I want my kids to understand this, that just says, look, live a life above the line, because good things happen there, bad things happen below the line. And they're getting the message. They're getting the message. But again, listen, that's as kids, but as adults, we need to learn this lesson as well. So we've got a choice. And on the same kind of theme as well, let's think about choices as well, about habits. So what are some of the habits that we've got? Because we know that good habits are what we should be kind of developing, but they are hard to develop. It's hard to actually start running, isn't it? It's hard to start that saving habit, but it's definitely the right way forward. But very easy to lose as well. By the way, this is the thing. It's a tough one, that, but hard to develop, easy to lose. And Jim Rohn said it best when he said, "Look, success is merely a few simple disciplines repeated daily." So going out for the run, or making that saving today, and not spending on frivolous things. And again, what he talks about is over time with those kind of good disciplines, we benefit from the pain of discipline. He talks about there are only two pains in life: the pain of discipline, and then I'm about to come on and show you the pain of regret. Well, look, we want to do these things so that we can have a healthy body, healthy mind. We might end up with a wealth that allows us to have a nice property portfolio, for example, and maybe doing the right kind of things in business. Again, a nice healthy business. So that's what we're really looking to kind of understand is, okay, what's the compounding effect of some of these good disciplines? But of course, bad habits are the complete opposite of that. It's really easy to develop a bad habit, and we might already be in some bad habit programming right now. So again, as an action, that might be something worthwhile doing. Is like, okay, what are some of the bad habits that that you have that when changed will make a difference? Okay, easy to develop, hard to change. But again, the inverse of the above is how it works. Failure is just a few errors of judgment repeated daily. So again, this idea of instead of the apple a day, which would be the good habit, maybe the Greg's pie a day. It doesn't make you fat today, but if you repeat that kind of behavior and the associated behaviors every day, it doesn't take long before you think, oh gosh, I'm feeling it a bit. Whereas again, the health habits that are associated with eating the apple, again, you probably think, all right, okay, I'm feeling good. So again, that's an easy example, but it doesn't have to be a hard example for you to understand the point. Again, we've got the pain and regret. The easy things to do today means that over time we look back and said, I wish I had. I wish I'd started doing that earlier. I wish I hadn't done that. So we end up with the opposite of what I've described above. Maybe a bit of credit card debt, maybe a feeling of lethargy, maybe kind of things not running in my business as smoothly as they could. So again, that idea of compounding effects to the positive or the negative over time is something I want to just kind of put into your heads there, because let's start now. Let's start now on some of the good things that we might that we'll benefit from. Our future self will thank us for, because this was a quote which I remember reading on a beach in Spain a good number of years ago, and it was one of those quotes that really got me. It said, "Hell on earth would be to meet the person you could have been." I was like, wow, imagine that. And really what that is about saying it's unfulfilled potential. I could have, but chose not to. And so really what I'd be looking to do here is let's have a little look at your current situation and maybe think about some of the results that you've achieved so far. And again, hopefully you're getting some good value from what we're covering so far. But again, make sure that you're extracting what you can. But again, I want you to be really honest as we go through the next little part of this session. Okay. So let me share with you a concept here which really kind of talks about, okay, what's our current level of performance in life versus our potential. So again, let's look at it this way, that says, okay, this axis here says, okay, we've all got a 10 in potential, or 100%, to put it another way, right down to 0 potential. Now my question is this: okay, if that's the fullest of potential, where are you performing right now? Are you a 10 out of 10? If you are, I doubt it. I'm sure there's a lot more that you could still do, but be honest with yourself. Where are you right now in terms of fulfilling your potential? Let's just imagine that we put ourselves here. I don't know where that is. A 4, a 5? All right, I think I'm probably performing at a 4. But that's your current level of performance. Of course, the thing that you're probably going to be, and again, you have to be honest here. Be honest with yourself. And this is not in a way to kind of undermine your own confidence, but just be honest and say, look, versus what you think you could do, where are you? Because then I'm really looking at the gap. What's the gap between your potential and your current level of performance? And what we call that is interference. Stuff is getting in the way of you performing at a higher level. So the equation that goes with this, and this is from a sports coach, I learned this one from, which says, look, performance equals potential minus interference. So actually, if we could, if you put some numbers to this, if the current performance is 5 and your potential is 10, then interference must be 5. But actually, if we could minimize the interference down to 1 or 2, okay, then performance goes up. So the question is, what is the interference? So have a think about what's getting in the way. Now, it might be, like, I've just got some disempowering thoughts right now. I feel nervous. I haven't got the confidence. Okay, I may be self-sabotaging. I've maybe got other people telling me that I can't do. I'm maybe kind of surrounding myself with the wrong people. I maybe don't have the right skills to kind of do the next job up. Or maybe haven't acquired the right level of knowledge. I'm maybe tripping myself up. I'm maybe just kind of repeating errors that I know that when fixed could actually move me forward. Again, 101 things. Oh, I haven't got the time. Well, maybe I've got a level of disorganization in my life that I could do with kind of restructuring and making time for the important stuff. What are those things that you think are maybe the excuses that you've got or the realities that you've got that maybe just are holding you back? So some real kind of study in terms of what's kind of getting in the way or what's my interference is good, because that gives you a level of awareness. And then we start to say, well, what are the things that we need to do to kind of start attacking those interferences and thereby lift our performance? So really have again, an action I would suggest doing is, scrap out of paper, just dump your thoughts. Whatever you're thinking, get it down on paper. It's really hard to think in your head, bizarre as that sounds. Get it down so you can see your thoughts on paper. So one of the things I'm going to share with you just now is a thing called the identity iceberg, but I also like to reframe this as the 9 steps to personal development. And really for me, the whole idea of the iceberg is, as you know, is that there's always way more that you can't see than what you can see. So when it comes to how we're getting on in life, there's probably an awful lot. Yes, people can see stuff, but actually there's an awful lot going on within. And so what we've got here then is that our results are quite obvious to ourselves and others, which says, okay, how we show up, the car we drive, the house we've got, the abilities that we have, our performance level, our relationships, those are the results of our actions and our decisions and our behaviors. So again, I like my quotes, you know that, but this idea of quality of your results will be in proportion to the quality of your actions, decisions, and behaviors. Right? Have good quality behaviors, have good quality decisions, make good quality decisions, and kind of take good action. You tend to get good results. But actually, if there's anything that chips away at the kind of the goodness of those things, then you start to get a lesser result. So again, you are what you do, not what you say you'll do. So again, in terms of actions, be honest with yourself. Are you one of these people who actually say, talks a good game and then never really does it? All right. Well, okay. Let's. How do we kind of convert that so that there's more action and less talking? What about the decisions as well? As you look back at some of the decisions that you've taken, what's the consequence of some of those decisions? This idea of if I'd made a decision that was different a year or two ago, what might that have led me to? Now, again, this isn't about beating yourself up for maybe a bad decision, but it's certainly about being aware about, okay, what are some of the kind of the decisions that I'm taking on a regular basis? And really a decision is kind of the start of a habit. And again, life's a mirror. It reflects back to you that which you put out. So this idea of people who are generous tend to get generosity put back at them. People who are mean tend to see kind of meanness back at them. So again, we're definitely, our results are a consequence of these things. However, we've got to look a little bit kind of deeper than that and go within, which just says, look, our skills and our current skills and our current level of knowledge will ultimately be the thing that drives these things up here, right? The better skills that we have, or the more knowledge we have, we might be in a better position to make better quality decisions. We might kind of be more aware of some of the right kind of behaviors to display, and it might lead us to kind of better quality actions. So again, thinking about our skills and knowledge, again, Jim Rohn's quote, you've seen that one earlier, right? So what might some things be that you want to get better at? Certainly, kind of 10 years ago, I wanted to become better at public speaking. So again, one of the things I did was I went to Toastmasters, which is a speaking club in Edinburgh, just to learn how to be better at speaking in front of a group of people. You'll be the judge of how well I'm doing right now on that one. But again, that might be an example. So again, what are some of the things that you might be want to get better at? Again, beliefs. Well, what's a belief? Again, it's a thought in the head, but what you currently hold to be true in the absence of new evidence. So again, a belief, again, I go back to the mindset example I used earlier. If I've got a belief that I'm not good at maths, then that's going to trigger a whole set of consequences. But again, a more empowering belief of actually I can get good at this with a bit of focused effort. Again, very different. All right, what about the values that I have? What are the things that I deem to be important? Because whatever I deem to be important will tend to drive what I spend time doing. So again, we might need to kind of really think about that. So again, family for me would be a really important value, as it is for many people. So therefore, all the things that I want to do kind of with and for my family, I'll spend time doing that. Again, I've got them on my wall just now, but for me, I've positivity, that's a huge value of mine, is this idea of, it says it here, it's possible, growth mindset, give things a go. So again, I spend an awful lot of my time probably doing things like this, encouraging you to say, come on in, give it a go. See what might happen if it does. So again, that's important to me. And then identity, which really is okay, how is it you see yourself? And someone kind of much more wiser than me said, look, identity is really what you say to yourself about yourself when you're by yourself. Oh, Alan, you're not that kind of guy. Or Alan, you're not very good at that. Or, oh, Alan, you're always late. So if I'm saying that to myself, have I got an identity of as a late person? Or do I say, again, an empowering kind of, I've maybe shared this with you before, but on timekeeping, we've got a mantra, an action coach, which I quite like, actually. It's quite harsh, but I like it because it keeps me right, which is, if you're early, you're on time. If you're on time, you're late. If you're late, you're a disgrace. Wow. But actually, I'm always on time because I am a person that's always on time. That's my identity. Does that make sense? So again, how do you see yourself? Or again, changing identity. A good example to this would be, alcoholics. Or okay, I don't drink. I'm a non-drinker. Again, it's like, I don't say I'm an ex-alcoholic. It's like I'm a non-drinker. That would be a different way of kind of framing how you see yourself. And then, of course, the environment. If you want to change the shape of an iceberg, then all you really need to do is turn up the temperature of the water, and 1 degree colder, the iceberg will grow in size. 1 degree warmer, and the iceberg will shrink in size. And I guess that's the same with the environment we put ourselves into. So again, who's lifting us up or who's pulling us down? And again, Jim Rohn said it, you become the average of the 5 people you hang around with most. So, are you in the best possible environment for you to be stretched and to grow, or are people holding you back? And by the way, that could be some of your friends, could be even members of your family, my word. But again, notice what's happening around you. And again, we can make change at all of these levels. Because if that's how it is, think about it this way. Right, that's the identity iceberg, or as I say, the 9 steps to personal development. Let's kind of really attack each of those things. Because up here, or kind of within, this is all about who we are, right? Our be, or who we become. Now, if we then look at all of the stuff up here, this is kind of the stuff that we do. And ultimately, the results is what we have. So be, do, have is maybe if you're familiar with personal development, it's the 3 words that absolutely litter through all of the literature. And really what it's saying is, look, let's get clear on kind of what it is that we want to have. So let's get clear on some of our goals, our results, because then that will inform us as to the things that we need to do. But actually, who's the person that we need to become in order to have the kind of things that we're after? So again, if we kind of put some maths to this just now, so if we want to have 10, doesn't matter what 10 of something is, and then we are 1, well, it's pretty obvious that we need to do 10. Okay, so example would be, if I use the example of sales, if I want to have 10 sales, and I'm not a very good salesperson right now. I have to work quite hard at making the phone calls, going for the coffees, kind of kissing lots of frogs. So you have to make up in quantity what you lack in quality. Okay, makes sense. However, let's just imagine that I still want 10, but actually I really work hard on my B. So again, I learn and say, okay, what knowledge do I need to acquire about the customer base that I'm looking to engage with? How about I develop some of the skills to become a better salesperson? How do I develop better rapport, or how do I kind of become better at presenting a solution to the customer's needs? What if I had changed the way I think about sales? Instead of thinking, oh, sales is a bit sleazy and slimy, what if it's like, okay, wait a minute, if I've genuinely got a belief that sales is about asking great questions to understand people's needs so that I can potentially match up their need with the solution I've got to advance them to a better place. Now, can you see how that's a very different mindset or way of framing a belief around sales? Again, that's going to be helpful. Again, my values around customer service and follow-up, as opposed to just getting the deal. Identity, I see myself as a professional salesperson. Again, all these things that I'm working on to become a better salesperson. Well, guess what? To get to 10, I actually could maybe do less. So maybe I have to speak to less people because my conversion rate's higher. The people that I sit in front of, they tend to then kind of come on board as a customer, for example. So I could just become better and do less, but still have the same kind of results. Or for those of you who are looking at that and thinking, well, why would you do less? What if you still kept up the same kind of work rate, but you're now better? All of a sudden, you start to have more. Now, okay, I'm just throwing some numbers at this, but if you understand the principles of saying, okay, this idea of let's actually become better. Don't wish life were easier, wish you were better. Work harder on yourself than you do on your job. That's why I'm reminding you of these phrases. This here is about, okay, let's get a good audit of ourselves. Let's get a good audit of ourselves and just say, look, okay, where are we right now? Where are the things that might need to change? That if I change these things and improve them, it might lead to a better quality of performance up here and ultimately give us a different result. So that would be the identity iceberg, and I guess there's a little kind of set of questions. Again, I won't go through them all, but again, might just help you to kind of pause the recording and just have a look at that and just say, okay, so use that as a bit of a template to do a bit of analysis. Okay, what are some of the results? So again, you can do this. Don't try and do this as what's the result I want for life. Break it down. Like, I might want to become better at sales. Okay, cool. In the subject of sales, let's go through these questions and say, right, okay, so and answer the questions. Or it might be, I want to get better at public speaking. Or it might be, I want to get better at having awkward conversations with people and become more assertive. So again, that's the result you want. Therefore, what are some of the questions that you need to go through in order to become more aware of what our current situation is and how we might want to change that? So that's how I would use that particular template. But I'd also get clear around goals. Let's get clear now around what it is that you actually want for yourself, for your life. And again, why would we ever want to set some goals? Again, this is the have of be, do, have. So why set some goals? Well, there's three key reasons, really. First one is it gives us some focus and direction. So again, rather than meandering, actually, can we give ourselves a bit of focus to say, right, when you focus on something, all of a sudden you can start to get rid of some of the clutter around you and then just say, okay, what are some of the things that really will help me achieve this and kind of go faster in that direction? Then we start to kind of make movement and create momentum. And again, maybe a good way of saying this is the first thing that you probably do in the morning when you're driving into work or into town is you might well jump in the car and put in the sat nav, right, the postcode. Well, actually, that gives you a bit of focus and direction. the next thing you'll do is you'll put your accelerator pedal down, and you'll start the wheels turning. That's the movement. And then the momentum is as you start to pick up some pace. And that's what tends to happen, is that what you start to get momentum in the right kind of direction. And then as you start to get better at things, all right, this is working. Now I can take on kind of more stretching goals. Maybe a good example of that would be if I want to become a runner, then I set a goal to, in a year's time, maybe run a marathon. Well, I might just be on a couch to 5K at the moment, but before you know it, and I'm sure you'll relate to this happens, which says, all right, the 5K is now well within my comfort zone. Let me stretch myself again. Let's now move to 10K. Once you get 10K, and so on and so on. So actually, you've then got momentum towards your goal. And of course, this idea of it shapes the person that you become, because you might well set a goal. Let's take the example of the running a marathon in a year's time. You might be thinking, kind of a year back from that, thinking, how the hell do I run a marathon? I've barely run the length of myself before. How can I do that? Well, actually, you change. You start to look at your nutrition. What do I need to eat? What do I need to not drink? What kind of exercise do I need to do? And so on and so on. And actually, over the course of that period, I can't imagine that you wouldn't literally change the shape of yourself, probably lose some weight, gain some muscle. Now I'm using a health exercise, but this idea of, all right, what if I set myself a goal to become an excellent presenter, or an excellent manager that doesn't shy away from having awkward conversations, that I become someone who can very ably handle awkward conversations where I have to give someone developmental feedback. Now, you might be the nicest person in the world right now who shies away from what's perceived as conflict, but actually, a bit of a reframe to that might be, well, wait a second. If I want to be a great manager, I need to help people to grow. If I need to help people to grow, then I need to help people see what they're doing well, but also point out where they're not doing so well, right? Maybe I now need to get a little bit better at having those awkward conversations, and so on and so forth. So you become a kind of literally a different person over time with focused and deliberate practice. How do you set the goals? Well, look, 3 words I will say: honesty, curiosity, and commitment. Where am I now? So I want you to be honest with yourself. Where are you right now? In relation to your goals, where are you right now? And then curiosity is like, where would I like to be? And again, dream a little bit. Actually, where could I be? Where could I be? Might feel hard right now, but with the benefit of time and good behaviors and good habits over time, could be very different. So where would I like to be? Again. And then what's going to bridge the gap? What does the plan need to look like? What are the things I would need to do and become, and that I would commit to, that'll help me move from where I am, point A, to where I would like to be, point B. So again, goal setting is a major part of personal development. You got to know where you want to aim for, and then start the process from there. If you don't set the goal, then you don't know what you're aiming for, and therefore it's unlikely to actually give you the sequential benefits of then knowing what to do and then how to grow. So again, you might have seen this before, the Wheel of Life, it's called. It's a nice way of actually kind of starting to get you to think about what your goals might be. And the way this really works is it just looks at your life holistically. Oops. Divides your life into 8 component parts, which most people say, yeah, I can see that that's representative of my life. And then it allows you to score yourself and say, okay, where am I now? Again, 0 in the middle, 10 out of 10 at the side, and here we are. We can have a little look and say, well, where are we? So if we do it this way, here would be an example of how someone might have scored himself. Look, I'm an 8 out of 10 of family and relationships. Fantastic. What makes you an 8? Good. Let's kind of pay some gratitude to kind of our current situation, and then okay, what would make it a 9? What are some of the things that we could do that would actually nudge that up so it's a 9? and so on and so forth as you go around here. So again, you can see this person said, okay, fun and recreation isn't quite so good right now. All right, well, look, let's first of all, before we kind of criticize the low score, it's a 4, it looks like. Okay, it's not a 3, a 2, or a 1, or a 0, so there's something. So what's good about it? But also then what would make it a 5? Not, over time we want to kind of start to kind of grow things out so we've got balance. But listen, I've yet to see anyone that's got a 10 out of 10 on all wedges, fully in balance. That would be a rich and full life. But I guess if you get it, the point is it starts to give us an idea as to kind of where it allows us to focus on some things that will help us decide what we want to do to advance things. So again, the Wheel of Life, again, look it up on Google. Very straightforward process, but don't dismiss the simplicity of that. Again, I think all too often as humans, we tend to overcomplicate things. It doesn't have to be hard. Start there, blank sheet of paper, do yourself a Wheel of Life, and then start to kind of scribble out what it is that you notice. All right, okay, so what are some of the things I would like to do in terms of fun and recreation? All right, okay, I'd like to do X, Y, Z. Great. Get them down on a bit of paper and then start maybe putting some time frames behind that. This is quite a nice way of actually looking at goals. It's called, if you look at the first letter of each of these things I'm about to put up here, you'll see it ultimately spells out my bucket list. But again, just go crazy with some of the things that you might want to do in life. Okay, you might want to meet a personal hero. All right, who might that be? Is it Richard Branson? Is it Jim Rohn? Well, can't do that anymore. But I went and saw Jordan Peterson only a year or so ago in Glasgow. Again, glad I've seen him. Okay, what about your proud achievements? What are some of the things that you would like to achieve in life? Again, to gain accreditation in something, or to become a professional referee. I don't know what you're after, but what are some of the things that you're really looking to achieve? You might want to buy that something special. Do you want to buy a Rolex? I mean, it's not my thing, but it might be yours, or it might be I want to actually want to buy a particular house. I don't know. But again, it'll allow you to kind of dream a little bit. What challenges do you want to take on? Do you want to get up? Do you want to get up Mount Everest, or actually would a marathon be a big enough challenge for you? Again, and it doesn't have to be just one thing. Just get really clear around or excited about. Okay, what are all the possibilities that would fall under this banner? Okay, all right. What fears do you have? Again, I don't know about you, but I do start to tremble when I go up high. We're going to Paris tomorrow, actually. So we'll be going up the Eiffel Tower. So I'm already thinking that's going to be fun. Not, but again, it's this idea of conquer a fear. Yeah. What about kind acts for others? This idea of, look, this isn't all about actually the be do have isn't about having more. For me, it's about having the ability to actually give more. So again, what are some of the things that you just want to do? Do you want to start a charity? Do you want to get involved in charity? Do you want to kind of make significant donations? Again, it's endless, the possibilities. Again, express yourself. One of the regrets of the dying, one of the top 5 regrets of the dying is, I wish I'd let myself be myself. So what are some of the things that you think, have you got that inner comedian in you, or actually are you a performer? Do you want to go and dance, go to a drama class? Again, think about some of these things. Don't hide your light under a bush. What are some of those things that you really want to do? Again, what do you want to learn? What do what do you want to take some lessons in? Yeah, what legacy do you want to leave? So again, this idea of planning for the future. How do you want people to talk about you when you're gone? And again, that might sound a bit morbid, but actually, again, if you've read Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, he really talks about that idea of being at your own funeral and kind of listening in, and what who's there, what are they saying about you, what legacy did you leave? Because whatever you want at the end, you probably have to start now actually being that person. So again, What does your legacy look like? There might just be some crazy stuff, some idiotic stuff that you want to do. Like, I don't know. Well, I think idiotic stuff, frankly, would be jumping out of a plane, but who knows? Okay, what are you curious about? What kind of things that you think, do you know what? I've never done that. That would be quite interesting. I wouldn't mind doing that. So again, what are those things? And again, where do you want to go? What do you want to experience with the family? With some friends. So look, that's my bucket list. Look, get a bucket list drawn up. What are all the things that would make this a really rich and full life? And then what we can start to do with that is put maybe some plans against that to make them happen. Because, Jim Rohn would say it this way. Another way of doing this is, look, what do I want to have? What do I want to do? Who do I want to be? What do I want to see? Where do I want to go? What do I want to give? Right. So again, it doesn't matter how you go about the process of coming up with a list or a bucket list, but actually think you must, and so therefore get a few sheets of paper and just get creative. Cup of tea, few hours, bit of music on, and just dream a little bit. Because what will happen then is you'll start to say, right, okay, once I've got a big list of the things I want to have, then I'm going to ask you just to put some timeframes to that. It says, okay, be good to have that within a year. I'd love to kind of aim for that within a year. Oh, that's probably a 3-year thing. Within 3 years, that would be cool. Within 5, maybe 10 plus. So again, we do that. And then what we do is we do that for all of our list, and then just highlight the ones that says, okay, see in the next year, here's all the things. Here's all the things that I would like to have, do, be, see, go, and give. Cool. Well, if those are the things that we want to then kind of get focused in on and make happen within a year, fabulous, it becomes a great list. Now, let's get tight about that, which says, okay, within a year, again, this doesn't have to be in a template. It can be on a bit of paper or in a journal somewhere, right? Let's get clear around, okay, let's take that idea and then be clear about what specifically do I want to have. Okay, let's be clear about why is the goal important. Again, this idea of, look, if you can emotionally connect with your goal, if it's really important, the more likely to actually achieve it, and certainly it'll keep you kind of focused and committed when the going gets tough. What do I need to do then to make it happen? But also, who's the person that I need to be to make it happen? So again, just going through those simple questions and asking yourself or coming up with the answers, then is the start of your plan. Remember, I talked about kind of where are you now? Where would you like to be? And what does the bridge look like between the 2 points? Well, this is the start of you kind of making a bit of a plan to fulfilling your goals and aspirations. And didn't we say at the start that one of the benefits of personal development is that you lead a better quality life and it helps you realize your aspirations and dreams? But look, this is how it goes, right? Very small steps over time can actually lead to a very big change, a very big result in the future. So again, you might have some 10-year goals that you need to start working on now, laying the foundations. Again, that idea, if you want to have a property kind of portfolio, well, fine, we'll start the saving discipline now, such that you've got the resources available to buy that first property in a year or two's time, and then the next one, and the next, and so on. So again, this idea of be clear on what we're trying to achieve and then work it back to now. So what actions do you need to take right now? So look, I've given you information. Again, you might already know quite a lot of that. Some of it might be new, but you've got an awful lot of information there. Hopefully, I've maybe done a little bit to inspire you to maybe do something with this hour that we've been together. But the important thing here has to be implementation. Please do something. do something. If that I don't know what that is, that's reach out to me, reach out to a mentor, reach out to someone else who's particularly strong in this area of setting goals or personal development. Get yourself on a podcast, read a book, attend a course, do something, because get implementing. Because the biggest barrier to success is not knowing what to do. I think you probably know what to do. You also know actually what your bad habits are and what you could and should be doing. It's really doing what you know. And therefore, what I would say is get curious as to, okay, if I know what to do and I'm not doing it, why is that? Because that's the start of change. And again, hopefully there's enough templates kind of in this last hour or so that might help you just get curious and then start putting rubber to the road, as they say, and start doing and start being. So again, make sure that you come away from this session here. I think we've been together now for maybe just over an hour. I've lost track. But the most important thing here is to take action. And who knows where you could be in a year's time, and 10 years' time, my word. But again, I go back to that quote. Hell on earth would be to beat the person I could have been. Who is that person for you? Well, let's get clear and let's start working towards it. So I hope that's been helpful. Reach out, ask any questions. Happy to help wherever I possibly can. But please do take charge and make it the life that you want it to be.